No one in this world can you trust. Not men, not women, not beasts. This you can trust.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Glory of Golden State Gaming. I'm your host, Swamp Swimmer, and with me, as always, the Achilles to my Hector, Vespacian.
Man, that's a brutal one. Everybody.
Hey, you noticed there was an announcement on the Ninth Age website. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, we're as we're recording this, we're in the midst of ETC. We're not there, but many of our brethren around the world are.
We weren't. We didn't make the cut for Team USA, unfortunately.
No, that's true. You had to say it again, didn't you? No, we didn't make the cut, and so. I guess there was an announcement by the Ninth Age management team and staff during the first day of ETC, and I'm summarizing. So there was an actual official announcement, and I think that they typed up some notes that went onto the forum. But basically, three main things. The first thing is that they are going to release significantly more in different types of background. There's been a call for more background over the years, and there's always been this sort of feedback that, well, they've been working on it, but it takes a long time to do the world building, and that there's a massive quantity of background, but it's just not ready to be sort of front and center and digested by the public. So they're saying that now a lot of those pieces are going to start coming out, which is, I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it with anticipation. So that's cool. The second thing is they are going to be testing some items and approaches to try to accelerate the lab process. There's been a lot of feedback that the labs are, finishing the last labs in 2025 or even later is too late, and so they're going to try to take some approaches to streamline that process. Although they did highlight that they, layout, and art is still a constraint where they need volunteers. So volunteer if you have the skills. And then the last one, and I think the one that, it's caused the most sort of stir in the community is, previously the non-lab books were locked for design changes. They were extraordinarily rare and very, very minimal. They have come out and said that they are going to go through a process this year to try to identify and make some design changes to the non-lab books, trying to target those things that can't be fixed by points, with a sort of an ulterior motive where possible to use those design changes to also simplify, streamline the game. So this topic that you and I talked about 1 or 2 months ago, I can't remember when. So in summation, a few things that are just exciting, new news. I think hopefully some good changes. The proof will be in the pudding on the lab speeding up, and then that last one is a pretty major pivot that they I had not anticipated. I don't think anybody had. So we'll see how it goes. But interesting that there could be some more changes to sort of shake things up, streamline things, and try to fix some of the issues that the community identifies and the rules team works on. So interesting stuff. Big announcement.
Yeah, I'm excited. That sounds the big news, I think personally, is the redesign of the non-lab books. I think that's pretty cool. It's gonna bring on that same fervor and that same excitement that was around when the Ninth Age first started. That everything was changing all at once, and it was a lot of excitement and kind of just craziness because there was all this new rules coming out. I think that's a really good thing. It definitely puts more stress on the designers, which I don't envy them, but I think it's going to cause a lot of excitement in the community, which I think is a big upside, a big plus.
I think if done right, it could address some things that people have been highlighting as over complexity, frustration with the length of the time that freezes are for the non-lab books. Even the claim, which I think is relatively well supported by data, that the lab books overperform against the non-labs, right? So
Yeah.
here's an opportunity to kind of crack that open and see if they can fix it up a little bit. So yeah, hopefully it goes well. Looking forward to it. Should be interesting either way.
All right, well, let's get into the battle report. So both of us got 20s round 1. I was sure we were going to get paired into each other because that's what usually happens. But that didn't happen. In round 2, Vespasian got paired into Sean, who's also playing Beast Herds. Sean's from the Sacramento area, and he's a TO himself. He's run a couple of one-dayers over in Sacramento. And I know he loves his chariots, so we'll see how this goes. If you are interested in Vespasian's Demon Legion list, please put the link right above my head. It will take you to the round 1 video where we go into his list in a little more detail. But let's just head over into Sean's list. Let's see here. He's got the Warlord, the regular standard build Warlord. He's got the Minnow Chieftain BSB with Agor's Affliction and B stacks. He's got a Centaur Chieftain, just a little cowboy running out there with just a B stacks with Fatal Folly. That's interesting. 2x3 raiding chariots, 35 Mongol herd with Legion standard, 6 Minotaurs with shields and the Black Wing totem, and then 2x3 Minotaur great weapon darts, a Razor Tusk chariot, 5 gargoyles, and 2 Cyclopses. Yeah, normally this is a no magic list, a 0. No, besides the Great Totem Bearer and Black Wing on the Minotaurs, that's the only magic he's got. So it's super light magic. I mean, did he get anything off in this game?
Yeah, I think that what happens is that if there's actually a combat, right, then he's gonna get something out, right? So I do think that he got 1 or 2 things off. Yeah, interesting list. Some aspects of it. I felt like I outmaneuvered it. But 6 chariots, the Blessed Inscriptions Warlord, 2 Cyclopses. There's a lot in this list that scares my list, right? So I think I rated this a yellow. Yeah. That being said, I do think that the Succubi can kill pretty much anything unless they get both chariot bricks into them on a charge, and was hoping to take advantage of my mobility to get into his backline and start working on the Cyclopses and picking off the chariot. So yeah, and I also I can dance around and just fire spears and and breath weapons and things like that at him. So was hoping that I could make that work.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's an accurate depiction of this matchup. This was counter thrust and King of the Hill. So we picked. What was the special? What was the special scenario?
Ooh,
I can't remember.
Gosh, good question. Do not remember that off the top of my head. I feel like this one.
I'll look it up. Keep going.
Was this the one that had the weird leadership thing? Where your general had to take leadership test?
Yeah.
The vote of confidence thing, which is cool, a cool mechanic.
Keep going. Talk about your deployment. I'll find it.
Yeah. So basically, he chose sides, I believe, and I dropped for first, if I'm recalling correctly. Yeah, and I picked that lake up in the upper left that's got that white kind of clearish totem or token on it, and then the field that is in my bottom right is what he picked. And so from, what I did was I put my hoarders on the left because the goal was to have them heading for that objective. I've also got the Blazing Glory to back them up. And then I've got one of my units of imps, my big unit Succubi centrally, Zeus in the middle there, the Sentinel, and then my two threshing engines, Hades, the courtesan, and then over on the right hand side, you can't see it, but is another the other unit of imps. And then my centaurs, the sirens, vanguarded up in the center there, basically just trying to create options, should I have an opportunity to make a big push in turn one. So Sean, basically what he did a couple of things that surprised me here. So he put his warlord out on his own right there.
Is that right here? Yeah.
Basically using that to protect the objective. I was a little surprised by that, but I think, well, we'll see how it all plays out. I just think that like 6 turns of spears at that guy is not a great look for him, even with a 4-up Aegis, and so I thought that was a bold move, but it puts a lot of weight over on protecting that objective, which is smart. He's got one of his units of raiding chariots, one of his Cyclops, his Razor Tusk chariot. I guess that's like a little unit of mongrels, or no, the harpies in the back there. He's got his centaur guy vanguarded up in the middle, and candidly, I forgot that guy could vanguard. So that was something that I should have better considered when I was deploying. I didn't think of what his first turn movement range was when I deployed. So then you've got the other raiding chariot unit, the mongrel unit with his BSB in it. Another, I was also surprised by that. I just always see the miniature characters in the big miniature brick, so a little surprising there. And then the Cyclops, Mino Stick, other Minotaur unit, Mino Stick. So he, in a way, it's kind of funny. We've sort of like mirror imaged one another's deployments, right? We've got our scoring sticks heading towards the king objective with some flexible, strong pieces trying to defend or push on each side. So yeah, it was I think an interesting deployment. I think he deployed pretty well. That hill, that massive hill in the middle there, is a real weird piece of terrain to have like dead center in the middle of the table. But yeah, anyways, so I think what you got next is my turn one.
The special scenario was called No Trust in Management. Every turn that your general takes a leadership check, a discipline check, unmodified with no reroll. If they succeed, they're fine. If they fail, their inspiring presence is basically halved. But they have a quote-unquote golden parachute, as CEOs do in tech companies, and they get, for that turn where their leadership bubble is lower, they get +1 Aegis.
Yeah. This, I actually didn't like. I remember seeing this rule, and a lot of people were talking about it in advance of the tournament. With the Sentinel, I didn't really care that much. Leadership is not that big of a deal for demons, and having him have a 3-up Aegis is nice. So didn't really care.
So you
kind
of want to fail, yeah. All right,
Yep.
So next pick we got. This is top of 1 movement.
Yeah, so basically what you see is a little bit of positioning. I was taken a little bit off guard by the Minotaur Warlord being over there, so I was a little bit more cautious with my movements on that left-hand side than I had initially expected to be. I moved up a little bit with the Succubi in the center, just kind of wanting to prevent him from moving too aggressively forward. I pulled my centaurs back because honestly, the way he deployed, he just didn't really give me a lot of options for a big aggressive push. And I was able to get my fast-moving, long-range chargers up without really any threat over on the right-hand side. And then I was basically looking to prioritize turn 1 putting missiles in and trying to take off his scoring, so that in the late game I didn't really have as many threats against the against my king objective, so that I could kind of focus over on the left. So
Gotcha.
I think this was I think that I was probably should have started bringing my resources over to the left a little bit earlier, given the importance of that side. But I sort of like this because I felt like it would pen up so much of his army, his BSB and all of his Minotaurs on that right hand side to have those big charge ranges there. And he didn't really have any chaff that was close enough. So
Yeah, true. Let's see here. Next photo, we've got, this is bottom of turn 1 movement.
yeah, so he moves up pretty aggressively with one of the sticks. I was able to get, I think, some wounds in on the right hand side, but not much. It was a little bit disappointing. And then on the left hand side, you can see sort of barely, he just shoves right up at the Minotaur Warlord, which makes sense, and follows it up with the chariots, right?
Yeah.
The hill is causing a lot of problems for his advance there. He didn't want to get up on the hill and give the succubi and my chariots the charges, but he's using it to good effect. He's got his chariots, sort of hidden in the lee of the hill so that my chariots can't countercharge him. And he's basically made it so with that Minotaur stick so that my two chariots can't both charge, like, I think, past that. So it's sort of like one chariot only can get past it, essentially. Same thing with the courtesan. So he's sort of trying to prevent big multi-charges on the right-hand side.
And then he shoves the Centaur Chieftain up here in front of the small unit.
Yeah, I found this guy to be pretty annoying for me in that he was just sort of blocking up my lines in this early game. I kind of had to watch what his arcs were. I didn't really want to let him take off my, hold up my succubi unit in the middle there. So I was actually happy that he moved him past them. But yeah, it's so he's kind of messing up with my center there.
All right. This is top of 2 movement.
Yeah, so basically and this is why I think I should have been bringing over my resources, one turn earlier, maybe even potentially just sacrificing the objective on the right-hand side. With the multiple sticks and Minotaur units and the big brick that had his BSB in it, I just didn't really have a great way to push into that side. The other alternative would have been to use the Centaurs in that prior turn, but I guess I just didn't feel like I was like I had the aggressive pieces available.
Yeah.
And then I push up with on the left hand side, I push up with one of the Hoarder units. My hope there is, that guy is super intense, but with the Hoarder sticks and mirrored scales, right, he could take a bunch of damage from himself, right, going through that stick, and it will take him 2 turns, right? So basically, yeah. I have the option, and I was hoping that I could just pull a couple of wounds off that guy with one of the sticks, which would then, I think, give me the advantage on that side. So that was my hope, and you can see I brought Hades around, probably a turn late, but brought Hades around behind the hill out of arc of everything.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like yeah. Okay, so next photo is sometime later.
Yeah. So I think, and this, one of the challenges, both piloting and also opposing this list, is that I have a lot of light troops, like long distance movers. And so Sean spent a lot of time in his turns, as he should, very carefully checking all of his arcs and making sure that things couldn't get out. And it was, it ended up like being both turns were quite focused for me, whereas I usually am able to get pictures in.
Yeah.
So I'll summarize what has happened here. So essentially, my range this entire game was just anemic. You can see that like over the course of, I think this is like turn 4, over the course of 4 magic phases, this is the Sentinel Thaumaturgy multiple spear magic phase, 4 spears. I did like, I think 6 total wounds to those 2 Minotaur sticks, which is just shocking. And on the left-hand side, that bloody warlord went through that quarter stick and took 0 damage, no wounds. So that was kind of a miserable turn of events for me. And so I ultimately, like kind of around this turn, started to realize that I might have a long shot opportunity to get his objective. And I felt actually fairly confident with my 2 chariots and the unit of imps that I'd be able to hold him off of my objective. So I basically was going for like best case scenario, an objective win with like roughly even points, because he's not, you know, so far other than killing that border stick, hasn't really been able to do much to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm looking
so
at this
I did
picture.
have to use the centaur.
I'm looking at this picture, and I'm not seeing many models taken off the board on either side.
Basically, he got my order stick essentially, and I've had to deploy the centaur chaff this turn. Essentially, that's basically it, and I've done 6 wounds to his minotaurs, which is, anyways, it was a very, like, there was a lot of, you know, I hit the minotaurs with the strength 7 spear and roll like 3 1s to wound going through the stick. You know, just like it was pretty bad. And his Cyclops is, in fairness, like didn't hit the entire game as well, which is not entirely uncommon, but you know, bummer for him. So neither farm range was doing anything.
All right, let's go on to the next pick.
So that's basically my strategy. I think we've just got one more picture after this, right?
Yeah, this pick is labeled last pick.
Yeah, so this is his next turn, right? So you saw that last one. He charges the centaurs. He chaffs my courtesan with his gargoyles, and he charges the flank of my threshing engine with his centaur cowboy, right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sacrificed one of my threshing engines, you know, going into the minotaurs to hold them up, or chapping them, basically to hold them up, to keep them away, because I think this is turn 5, to keep them away from my objective. And I've managed to, as you can see, continue depleting that other stick of minotaurs with my imps and spears and stuff on the right hand side. Mm-hmm. I ultimately finish that unit off, and he does not get my objective on the right hand side. Funny little oddity. Looking back, actually, it was not super unlikely, but his centaur cowboy charges into the flank, completely whiffs, and then my chariot kills him, which was odd. Yeah. It's not like that cowboy is not that hitty, but you know, he got a little bit unlucky and just didn't make any.
Yeah, well, he's got the.
I think I did have a buff on that.
He's got the B stacks with the fatal folly, so like the point is he doesn't have to be that hitty. He just needs to go into a spot where he's being hit a lot, and then he'll get more attacks in return. At least that's the logic behind it.
Right. And I think what happened was I had a cleansing fire on, and I think I did like 2 of the wounds with the breath weapon, and then like managed to sneak a wound through. He just failed all, like I think I did 3 wounds and he failed all of the armor saves. So it was a little bit of bad luck there. So basically what happens from here is we go into 6, and I put the hoarders up into the lake, and I've managed to I think with the blazing glory hold up the Minotaur warlord over on the left hand side, and then what I do is I actually use the courtesan to chaff his big unit of chariots up there, and my thinking over on the left, up here, that one, yeah. because my thinking is he's basically got a Cyclops and a Razor Tusk Chariot to try to take my orders off of that objective, right? And so I'm thinking I'm in very good shape there. Unfortunately, what happens is he manages to, I think with just 2 chariots, I think he rolls like boxcars impact hits and takes the courtesan off.
Oh no!
Which is pretty shocking. I'm fairly sure I didn't have any wounds on me, so that's 6 res 6 wounds on a 5-up. So he takes the courtesan off, huge point swing, and somehow the Razor Tusk Chariot and the Cyclops managed to kill that entire order stick in a single turn and lose me the objective. So that was a massive swing, because I think that if the courtesan sticks, which it should, and the hoarder sticks, which it should, that's, I don't lose, circa 1,000 points, and I win the objective, right? As it was, I'd lose circa 1,000 points, and we push the objective, right? Yeah. So I think that Sean played that well. I'm not minimizing it. Like he had some counter charges set up. I thought that I was in a place to make it painful for him, but it didn't work out. So I think the end result was a 13 to Sean.
13 for Sean. So yeah, that's a tough loss. I mean, it kind of came down to the last turn, and you guys were playing very cagey the whole time, and you both were getting unlucky with range damage. So it's like it became this very cagey game that came down to the 6th turn, and his dice just showed up the 6th turn, and he well, I don't want to minimize what Sean did, but he got those charges in on the bottom of 6, and they worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I also want to punish myself a little bit here, because I think that if you go back to the beginning, I think I made some philosophical mistakes in deployment. I think that with the way that he was set up, there's 2 things that I should have done very differently. One, the courtesan should have been in the middle, right? There's a massive blind spot behind that hill that the courtesan could have been there. I would have been perfectly happy for that cowboy to charge in, because the courtesan would have killed him in a single turn, right? And he has no counter charges, basically right where your cursor is, right? That would have put an enormous amount of pressure on that flank for him, and also importantly brought another spear over onto that side for me to be pushing into the warlord, right? And then what I did was I pulled Zeus out and kind of kept him central. I should have pulled the Sentinel Zeus over to the left, and I should have been putting all 3 spears every turn into the Minotaur Warlord, because as soon as that guy is off the table,
this whole side opens up.
On average, I'm talking strategy. Obviously, my dice rolls later would have made that tough, but strategy-wise, I think taking him off, cleaning up that left-hand side. He doesn't have a BSB over there. I think I did actually panic that chariot unit off at one point. Right, so can take advantage of those sort of things, and have more pressure with the courtesan, both hoarder sticks and the blazing glory and the succubi on that side, to really push that flank, and then hope that I can use the threshers to hold him off of the objective on the right hand side. Now I probably would lose more points with that strategy, but I think I would have gained more and locked the objective, or at least I pushed it anyway, so the downside risk was the same. So I think that would have been a better strategy to open up the possibility of a big win. And I think the way I played it was basically like a smallish win was the most I could get, right? So it's I think I played this a little bit too cagey, but well played by Sean. He didn't really make any mistakes, and his putting that warlord out there, I think, was smart. He really put it somewhere where I just didn't have the right pieces to deal with it. So it was well played there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I would have thought of that. Yeah, that's great. That was a good game. So thanks for Sean for the game.
Thanks, Sean.
We will be into my round 2 next. But hey, everyone, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.